As soon as I put it in writing, I couldn't unsee what I had just admitted. I hit reply, having confessed the real reason I was sabotaging my own progress with a key area of my business, my email list. Now, today I'm sharing what I admitted, how it changed my perspective, and also what I am doing about it right now. And I'll give an update on how everything's going. Now, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Kat, and on this podcast, I'm sharing behind the scenes as I try real time experiments to help me follow through on what matters and find momentum as a speaker and writer. So, this email that I mentioned at the start of the episode, it was last April, and my friend Chanel Basilio, she writes a newsletter called Growth in Reverse. It's where she reverse engineers how successful entrepreneurs grow their newsletters. And if you are someone who creates content on the internet as part of your business strategy, you know how critical it is to have a direct line of communication when at any moment, platforms like YouTube, Meta, LinkedIn, they can suspend your account even if you did absolutely nothing wrong. You can just wake up and poof, it's gone. But more than that, when you get the right match of people who are joining your newsletter who could also benefit from what you offer, that's a key part of how you run a business and earn an income. So even though I know deep down, I would actually do this kind of work for free. If I won the lottery, I'd still be helping people in some way, but I have to earn a living because I didn't win the lottery. So back to this email. Now, Chanel was starting a 30-day email series with real examples of tactics and strategies for growth. And I had signed up because I knew that I needed to work on this. And I was, I could, hold on, I got a little bit lost here. I signed up for this because I knew that this is something I needed to work on. And this series was all on real tactics and strategies for growth. I knew that I had been ignoring this for a while. Now, in the email confirmation, she asked everyone to reply with their biggest challenge right now when it comes to newsletter growth. And so this is my actual reply, by the way. So I said, your question about the biggest challenge has me thinking of a core issue I have and have had for a long time. I don't advertise or actively grow my newsletter because I'm not proud of it, yet. I am 100% self-sabotaging my growth because I don't want people to find out I'm a disappointment. So that's a fun admission to make. Melting face emoji. Okay, let me repeat the core fear. I don't want people to find out I'm a disappointment. Even if a little part of that belief is true, then it actually makes perfect sense why I'm not actively promoting my newsletter. So instead, I just played it safe and I stuck with the lovely humans who had already joined my list within the past 6 years since starting it. Which brings me to now. Because 1 week after sharing my public tracker for my goal to reach 1 million people through speaking and writing, being confronted with the fact my email list has been a similar size for about 4 years. 4 years. That was a big deal. It was kind of a tough pill to swallow. Now, to be fair, when I shifted the focus of my business from more virtual presenting content to talking about momentum and follow through, I did experience a drop off. I invited people to, you are welcome to exit, no hard feelings. And I meant it. And so there were people who dropped off. They didn't want to stick around, and that's okay. So, and there have been new subscribers since then. So there has been a change in the numbers, but overall, it stayed about the same. Also, if you are one of the new subscribers who joined in the past sort of year and a half, hi. I'm really glad that you're here right now. Today, though, I'm not actually talking about the number. I'm talking about what the number represents. Because when I see it, to me, it represents years of holding myself back. I mean, actual years. There is no way to know for sure, but I am confident that the cost of my inaction has been a meaningful amount. And this Like what I am describing right now is what happens when your dreaded identity is stronger than your desired identity. To put it another way, it's what happens when your why not is stronger than your why. And it's one of the reasons that I talk about what I talk about, because there are some just genuine things that can hold us back from following through on things that matter. Even if we have a strong desire to get on the other side, this can happen to us. And I share this today because one, I'm trying to be very public with what I'm doing. And when I showed those numbers, I felt like I needed to confront it, but I also wanted to share a little bit about that. Because for me, I'm not actually embarrassed by the number. If I picture a room of over 3,000 people, that's a pretty big room of people to be talking to. So it's not the number. It's the fact that that number has just kind of stayed in a certain area for a while. And I just want to touch on this idea of dreaded identity. So when I say dreaded identity, I am actually talking about this version of ourselves that we don't want others to see or think of us, or even for ourselves, we don't want to see ourselves that way. And it's not that I don't want to disappoint people, it's that I don't want to be a disappointment. Like, I don't want to be the reason that somebody says, oh, that was a waste of my time, or why did I even bother? This person is not worth it. That is this dreaded identity, and imagining that that might happen is something that holds me back from putting myself out there. Now, I have actually been doing some active work, so I wanted to share what that means now. So over the past couple of months, I have been taking advantage of co-working sessions. So I'm in Chanel's community, and every Monday there is a co-working call. If you know me at all, you know I love a co-working call. And I have that time dedicated on my calendar for at least 1 hour a week I will spend on my newsletter. Now, it's not to date, it hasn't been a ton of like growth stuff and trying to get in front of more people, but I have been making changes so I can feel more confident in what I am sending out. And some of those changes have been to the structure and deciding to have it formatted a little bit more like an intro, an article, maybe my podcast or what I'm reading, etc. So I've switched up the actual format, so that's new. I've also switched up the look of it a little bit. Nothing crazy. Just added some dividers and some color and some headings. And actually I like it. And so it makes me happier, but I think it has a nice polish to it. But more than that, one of the other things I did recently is as I was working on my newsletter on those Mondays, I recognize the importance of social proof. And I am going to talk about social proof and testimonials because that is an area that I am also experimenting with. But I decided that I wanted to ask people that I could trust if they would be willing to share testimonials with me. So I used Kit. So Kit is my email service provider, and they have an MCP so that I could basically say, can you tag everyone who opens almost all of my emails? If somebody is opening almost every single one of my emails, tag them with the highest engaged subscriber. And I sent an email to those highest engaged subscribers and just said, hey, I don't love asking for help, but would you please send me a testimonial for this newsletter? This is what it looks like, and showed a couple of screenshots of what it looks like. I didn't send this to everyone on my list because one of the things you want to do when you're trying to push back against a belief. So if I'm trying to challenge this belief that my newsletter is a big old disappointment and I'm a disappointment, well, then I don't want to just ask everybody for feedback. I just want the people who regularly open all my emails and just say to them, I feel uncomfortable asking, but could you just ask me? Because that's just the honest truth. I don't love asking for help. I'm working on it though. And when I started to get the replies, when I started to have people actually give testimonials about the newsletter and what it means to them, that started to shift for me. I started to really change my belief about what I am sending and the value of my email. And so taking that risk and asking people that I felt confident weren't going to be mean to me was a really, really helpful change and exercise, an experiment for me. And I have noticed a shift, and I do feel better about my content. And I've even had a close friend of mine who's on my email list say, I sense the shift just even in your writing and how you show up in my inbox. Now, of course, she's a close friend, so she can also see that in other ways. But just getting that feedback has really, really been meaningful to me, and it's starting to challenge this fear that I've had that's been looming over me. So that's been a really, really important thing for me. The other thing is that I have started to look towards the other direction, which is okay, now that I'm feeling a little more confident, a little bit more proud of what I am putting out there, then how do I actually get in front of people who could benefit from the work I do and what I share? And so doing that, I am looking at, or I have started actually developing a quiz. And the quiz is to help people to figure out, okay, why am I stuck? So I talk a lot about identifying what's the real reason? Is it logical, biological, or psychological? And I want a quiz so that I can help people figure out which one. So I've started to craft it. As I started to test my initial quiz, it's 15 questions. I realized got a couple of things that are snagging and need to be edited a little bit. However, the way that I have shifted this is, or not the way that I've shifted it, but now I know it's on the way and it is something I'm working on. And by telling you and sharing on the podcast that I'm working on a quiz, then it's something I'm more likely to follow through on and make sure it happens. I don't want to rush it because I want it to be good, but I also want to have a version 1 that is out this month. So this is, as I record this is August 2026. And so to have at least a version 1 that is out this month. And maybe I'll even ask for some testers, maybe a small group of people who are willing to test the V1, maybe the alpha, and then I can put this out a little bit more widely. Because if I can have a good tool like that, when I do talk about the different ways we get stuck, and if someone's just not quite clear or they want some more insight, then I can direct them towards the quiz. And then they're also likely a person who could benefit from, okay, well, now what? And that's what I talk about in my newsletter. So that's what I wanted to share today is really this newsletter, I'd say issue of mine, not newsletter issue, like the one that's coming out, but the issue I have had with really, really holding myself back. And for a moment, I thought maybe I'll actually try to calculate the cost of my inaction, but it's really hard because I cannot A B test that. I can't say, here's what it would be one way and here's what it would be the other. But based on people that are in my in my circles, in my networks, and who do similar work, or even if it's a different topic, I know that I could run a similar business. I know I've been leaving a lot on the table, and it's something that is worth overcoming and worth addressing. And I would just say for you, if you're listening to this and there is something in your life where you feel like there is a real cost to your inaction, it is worth doing the exercise of asking, what are you afraid of? If you do follow through, are there any worries that come up for you? And for me, it was this idea of picturing a person subscribing, opening the email or emails, and just feeling like, nah, this is not worth my time. This is not valuable. And here's the thing, that could still happen because not everyone is going to be a fit. And I know that. And I think really what I had to work on is being proud of my own work and feeling good about it, having clarity of what I'm actually saying. And that way I can separate the fact that someone might be disappointed, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm a disappointment. And the way I work on that is through my confidence and how I see my writing and what I'm actually putting into it and working at getting a little bit better every single week. And those are some of the ways that I am doing this. And I'll check back in and I'll report back on the how the quiz is building up. And then I guess also what am I doing to get out in front of other people, because that's another really big part of this. I know this sounds like business 101. Anyone who's starting a business that has an online component where you are trying to get in front of new audiences knows the importance of an email list. But I also have a suspicion that I'm not alone with other people who are playing it small and holding themselves back when it comes to actually growing the list and getting in front of more people. And that's been my experience. Now, I want to do a little tracker update. I don't actually have it in front of me at the moment, but I did. I know it because it's only been a few days. It is currently August 5th as of me recording this. And when it comes to posts, it's only been one. I've only posted one in the first 5 days of this month, and my target is 20. So I have 19 more to go. And the exercise of just actually entering the tracker and saying one was enough to make me say, okay, you have to start to deliver. So I need to pick up the pace on that. However, Appearances, I was also able to add a 1 because yesterday, a podcast that I was a guest on with Jay Klaus is the Creator Science podcast. That just was released this week, and I already have some DMs from people who listened to that episode, and so I was able to check off that I have 1 appearance there, which is just really exciting. And then for the newsletter, I actually I'm gonna report on that next week because I realized as I was prepping for this, that when I created the tracker and I put in the number for till the end of July, it actually wasn't the end of the month yet. So I need to update what the true number was towards the end of July, and then I can update it week to week and it will be accurate of how many new people have joined since then. And that's also something that's directly related to today. So I think this is my hypothesis that if I'm reporting each week, it's going to help light a fire to make sure that I stay on top of that. Those are my those are my experiments, those are my updates, and I'm excited to keep on just sharing the real numbers and talking about this in public because, woo, it definitely yeah, it's something. I'm feeling it, but hopefully some of this has landed with you, and maybe if there's anything that you've pulled today from the conversation, you can use it to help find your follow through and your momentum with something that matters.